I've controlled all my cravings to be thinner with Lizzo.
Oh, it's Lizzo.
Guys, I have a confession to make. I don't find South Park funny anymore.
You need to leave!
Now let me explain before everybody gets up in arms about it. It's not because I'm one of those sensitive people that can't find humor in edgy stuff. Like, most of my humor is really edgy. It's more like the humor of South Park doesn't really feel the same like it used to. And I realized this with the latest special, the End of Obesity special, and I noticed the same thing that I had been noticing for like the last couple of specials, and honestly the last couple of seasons. The humor, it just feels very stale and repetitive, and it feels like they have less to say comedic wise, so they just kind of repeat the same stale jokes. To be honest though, I've started to notice a decline with the quality of the show for a while now, probably around, like, honestly, for me personally, season 15 or 16. Obviously, a show is going to have some bad episodes. That's just kind of obvious, even during its golden period. But for me, it was more than that. I just started to notice that I've become tired with South Park in the plots that they were doing. It just became really boring to me. So I would say probably around 16 is when I kind of stopped really watching it continuously. It was getting stale in its delivery. So fast forward a few seasons, I try to watch it again, I think like season 18 or something. And I just start to notice that they're doing a lot of social commentary on a lot of like LGBT and like kind of more left-wing things that have been blown out of proportion on the right. So like they'll depict an episode where like a man will compete in a woman's sport, and that will be, I guess, the plot line, and the point of that is to show that men are better at sports.
I can't tell you how free I feel now that I've started identifying as a woman. Now that I can compete as female, I'm ready to smash the other girls.
And is it correct you just started identifying as female 2 weeks ago?
I'm feeling sick again.
Which the whole thing with the whole trans people in sports thing has been taken to a whole nother level by the right, and it's just a lot of misinformed people about the situation in general. So
You want us to compete as women? $5,000 prize. A guy can become a girl with no physical changes at all.
So I can be a woman on the court and a man in the bedroom. I can't believe it. Nice!
You mean when you're sleeping?
Yes.
Oh, brother!
it's just a lot of misinformation, but it's being played straight, I think. And for me, like, that's where I'm just losing my grip with, like, the comedy. Another thing was when they changed Token's name to Tolkien, like, as if that was always his name, and I don't really know why they did that. Their specials in general have been honestly really boring. The Streaming Wars one, the Pandemic one, the Panderverse one, where everybody's being replaced by ethnic women, apparently. Again, another thing that the right blows out of proportion, but it seems like Trey and Matt are taking entirely seriously when it's not happening like they think. It happens a few times and then the right goes crazy about it. And it just feels like these plots are kind of beneath them, honestly. It feels like I wish that they were more punching at the people that were blowing these things out of proportion. And that was my biggest problem with the latest special with the obesity one. There are certain things that I know a lot of people found funny about this, which is why I know that coming out with this video is probably not a great idea.
But I don't care about their anymore now. I just want to be honest.
Because everybody seems to find these specials hilarious and stuff, but for me personally, I just really think that South Park's humor is gotten so boring and so repetitive. So yeah, like, that was my impression with it. Like, another thing that I really fucking hated that they started doing was the arcs. I know that they've kind of stopped doing that now, I guess, but I don't think it was a good idea for them to start doing arcs. They really intertwined it a lot with politics over time, which I hated. It literally got to a point where they had to change the ending of one of their seasons because of how the election turned out. Like, Mr. Garrison is Donald Trump. That's the joke. I just don't think South Park was really meant to be that type of show. So for me, that was another reason why I just stopped giving a shit. Randy apparently is Lord, and that's an ongoing thing. The singer, Lord, yeah. Cartman gets into a toxic relationship with this other girl and it goes on for a while. It's just, what? I just started to be more annoyed with the plots, and the humor just felt even more repetitive. I know I've already said that, like, ironically. The thing is, like, South Park has never been shy about politics or social commentary, which is why it never bothered me before, but I felt like the way they did it before was more funny. Like, and to me, it can be funny when they poke fun at specific issues. However, I have noticed that their commentary on specific issues has gotten very lazy. And I'm not saying that they never had bad takes before. Their politics probably wouldn't really align with mine very much if we sat down and talked to one another. But, like, some of the commentary that they used to make, though, felt wittier to me. It felt funnier. It felt less obvious. And it felt like they had something more to say, honestly, than ethnic women are replacing white men in movies. The latest special kind of made me think more about why I don't find South Park very funny.
I finally figured it out.
Everything I brought up just now is more why I hate modern South Park and what it's become. So because HBO Max has the rights to South Park until 2025, the streaming rights, Paramount has found a way around this to make a profit by having Trey and Matt make specials. And to be honest, just like the show has already gone downhill to me, it's just gotten even worse with these specials in my opinion. I just find them less funny and less funny with each one that they make. Like I mentioned before with the whole episode with the man entering the women's sports thing. I have to keep hammering that in because I just feel like, how is that funny in this day and age where, like, man beat woman is like, I feel like, are they going backwards? How is it really that funny? Trey and Matt's commentary feels as if they make jokes at the expense of things that they really don't understand. So when they make these jokes, they're just cheap shots and something that is really not that funny, even though they think it's funny. It just makes the episode less funny when the comedy they write is just based off of really outdated stereotypes that just isn't really funny as a premise to begin with. Don't get me wrong, I think there are ways that comedians make a stereotype work in a joke. I just think that you have to think a little bit more outside the box with it instead of just pointing out the stereotype. I think that you need to find a way to put a unique spin on it to make it funny, or it just becomes tired. It feels less like a story is going on with the plots of these episodes now, and more like they're just repeating the same joke over and over again throughout the 22 minutes, or the whole special, or whatever it is we're watching. And that's what I've come to hate about a lot of the ways modern adult comedies are, at least here in the West, because it's just, they're just tired. They just have the same repetitive jokes over and over again. So if we're talking about the latest obesity special, again, I'm not offended because they made fun of people or they wanted to call obese people lazy. It's really not that, even though it did feel especially lazy to point and make fun of that when they don't really understand the whole issue in its entirely, because again, Matt and Trey aren't obese, and I doubt that they really have any deep knowledge on the issue, so they just think obese people are just lazy. And it's not just that, it's a huge issue that has a lot of nuance that they aren't really willing to put the time in. I think Trey and Matt also think that body positivity is a substitute for not exercising or something. It has to do with the body standard and how we've kind of made being thin the standard, as this episode clearly demonstrates. They think that being thin is the standard, and it's really just about accepting yourself the way you are. It's not really about saying, I don't give a shit. It helps people get in less of a negative mindset about their bodies. Even thin people can be body positive. It has nothing to do with size. It's about accepting your body. There is something, I think, funny to say, like they did with the American healthcare system, although I do think that the gag went on a little too long with the whole musical number. But again, there is something to say about the healthcare system. I just think that the whole episode just basically making fun of people because they take medication that helps them with eating, and it's just a low blow, and it's just not really funny. Like, I think there's some funny things that can be said about the body positivity thing. It should be more like, let's make fun of the people that are looking at the situation without understanding everything about it. But instead, they just wanted to make fun of Lizzo the whole time. And the whole Lizzo joke just got so tired over and over again.
In case studies, 70% of patients on Lizzo no longer cared how much they weighed.
I don't give two shits.
Oh, And I'm afraid you'll have to be on Lizzo for the rest of your life.
FDA-approved Lizzo makes you feel good about your weight, and it costs 90% less than Ozempic.
I've lowered my standards and my expectations.
Lizzo?
She's a really good singer who talks about body positivity and just being happy with the way you look.
I've controlled all my cravings to be thinner with Lizzo.
It's Lizzo.
And the rest of us get this. What's this? It's a prescription for Lizzo. Rich people get Ozempic, poor people get body positivity.
It's Lizzo. Lizzo helps you eat everything you want and keep physical activity to a minimum.
I want you to listen to Lizzo 5 times a day and watch her videos just before bedtime.
Are you living with concerns of obesity?
Ask about the power of not giving a fuck with Lizzo. I'm so sorry.
It's all right, Mrs. Marsh. We've been seeing a lot of this lately with people taking Lizzo.
Some patients report constipation while listening to Lizzo. Stop listening to Lizzo if you experience suicidal thoughts. Serious side effects may include pancreatitis, hypothermia, and literally shitting out your ears.
They just kept making the same joke. And again, it's not even like Lizzo invented body positivity. Trey and Matt are starting to become those people that like call out these left issues or like more progressive things as a bad thing, and then they, without really understanding any of it, like there's something to say about people that focus all of their energy into judging people for like a specific way they maintain their body. But I just feel like making fun of people for taking medications, like that's not really that funny. Plus, like, I don't really know, are there a lot of like middle-aged women that are doing this in order to maintain like a really sexy body? Because again, that joke got really tired really quickly with the women just flaunting off their body the whole time. It just got so boring. Maybe I'm just stupid, but this special just made me realize that South Park, I went back and was watching like older episodes of South Park, and I found no problem in those at all. So let's take a specific episode from season 12 that is still hilarious to me. More than just fat people, obesity, am I right? So the episode Overlogging has the entire world, I think, going out without internet, because I guess the internet just went out. And the whole episode handles it very funny and is clearly exaggerated for comedic effect. Randy actually ends up taking his family out to California to see if there's any internet connection, and it's treated just like the Great Depression or something, and everybody's talking like old like southern speech. It's just really hilarious. There's certain parts of it that literally I could not stop laughing. That's how hysterical it was.
Oh, this sucks. I can't jack off to this. But if we don't treat the internet with the respect that it deserves, it could one day be gone forever. We must learn to only use the internet for porn twice a day.
And the episode didn't have to really rely on anything like super political. It was just making fun of people's over-reliance on the internet. And funny enough, it was an episode that had Randy in it a lot, and I have really begun to despise Randy because of the modern South Park and the whole Integrity Farms bullshit. So this was just a great episode overall to just show like this is South Park at its best, and right now South Park honestly is at its worst. And I find it ironic because Trey and Matt pride themselves on being better than Family Guy in a lot of ways in the way they write, but from like what I'm seeing, South Park's gotten harder for me to sit through than Family Guy at this fucking point. I feel like I'm the minority on this, clearly, but I really don't see people talking about the quality decline in South Park as much, and maybe people are just not noticing it, but for me personally, I just think the show is completely on decline. It is not even really funny like it used to be, and maybe it's just me and I've outgrown the humor that they do, but I still laugh at their older episodes, so I really don't think that's it. I genuinely think that once Trey and Matt started focusing too much on politics and the plots and social commentary, they forgot how to write fun plots that aren't necessarily calling out a big issue, but just being an episode where the boys get lost in a cave or are trapped in an amusement park full of piss. I mean, like the absurdity that came out of South Park before that didn't rely on social commentary punching at the left or the right, I think that's where South Park shines the most. And I think that they can have good social commentary at certain points, but I think that when they're punching at a specific side, I think that they really should understand a situation so they can make jokes that actually feel funny and not just generic stereotypes. It just feels like they've sucked out a lot of what made the show funny, and now all we get is Lizzo Ozempic parody ad. I wish they'd just go back to how they used to format their episodes. No overarching stories, less social commentary all the time. Again, you can have social commentary once in a while like they used to do, but I just think that they should just leave it out. I think they should just go back to writing plots that don't feel like they have to rely on things that are currently trending in politics or something. And I think that's why they rely on it, because I feel like they don't really know how to write plots outside of that at this point. Things that aren't like trending in some way. I think they should really just go back to writing the way they used to. I don't even know if they know how to at this point. The humor's just gotten predictable to a specific extent, and the plot lines for the episodes are just boring in its entirety. So for me, I just hope that South Park can maybe get on a better track, but I really don't think it's going to at this point. I guess I just wanted to state my opinion on this because it seems that no one else really sees it this way. Please try not to hate me too much. Anyway, thanks.